So the big question, what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML simply describes structure of web pages. So in this course, we are going to learn specifically HTML5, which is the current version of HTML standard at the time of recording this video. If you want to build website, it's very important that you learn HTML. So let's quickly jump into our computer and create our first ever HTML file. So on my desktop, let's go to new and create a new folder, and I'm going to name this folder my first web. So let's open this folder, right click and create a new text document. So let's name it index.html. So yes, so the moment you create your first HTML file, it changes to your default browser, and my default browser is Chrome. Any default browser you are using, your file may change to it. If it's Opera Mini, it will change to it, but because I'm using Chrome, it has changed to Chrome. But in case you've not seen this while you've created it, just go to view right here and make sure file name extensions is checked on. That's the only way you can see this extension like that. So let's open our HTML file in our browser. As you can see, it is empty, which is fine because we've not written anything inside yet. So now let's go back to now we are going to open our HTML file in our code editor. In the code editor, creating HTML file is free. You don't need to download expensive applications to do so. There are a lot of free code editors out there you can download and use. For example, Notepad++, Sublime Text Editor, you have Visual Studio Code, you have Atom, and so on. But for now, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code Editor, and I'm going to put the link in the description as well, so you can get it as well if you need it. So let me just open my Visual Studio Code Editor, and let's open our new folder we just created. So open folder, I'll check on my desktop, my first web. So select folder. So here we are. So let's open our new file now. So now I'm inside my newly created HTML5 file. The first thing to do here is to tell the browser that this is an HTML5 document. So how do we do that? We type a left angle bracket. So on my computer, type a left angle bracket and an exclamation. So this is the interesting thing about Visual Studio Code Editor. We type a left angle bracket generally. The mathematicians will say less than, anyhow you call it. So as you can see, our code editor has displayed suggested tags. The first item here is doc type or document type. Let's press enter. So now it generated a piece of code for us. So this line of code tells our browser that our code is an HTML5 file or HTML5 document. The next is our main HTML tag. So I'm coming to the next line. Now type the same left angle. Now type HTML. So just close tag and open. So With our main HTML tag, we have two different tags, and this one is called this one right here is called the opening tag, and this is called the closing tag. Unlike this has only one tag. This does not have opening tag because this does not surround any text. You can see the doc type has only one opening tag. If you look at this tag, you realize that it does not have a closing tag. This tag right here does not have a closing tag, and this is because it's not surrounding any text. Now inside our main HTML tag, we will separate our content into sections. So when I say into sections, using mainly the head tag and the body tag. So inside our main, so let's type our head tag. With our head tag, we also have an opening and closing tag as well. Then let's take body. Same thing. The body also have opening and closing tag inside it as well. So after separating this into sections, the head tag is where we load CSS files and JavaScript files. We want to be looking at those today. Our focus is the HTML for now. Now, when we take a look at any page, everything you see on the page, like text, tables, background, images, will usually be in the body tag. Now let's type something inside our body tag and see the result. So inside our body tag, let's say this is my first website. So let's see what we got. So let's come into our browser and refresh. So here we got this is my first website. Yeah. So let's go back to our code editor. So now back into our code editor, let's look at some element of the head tag, and we use element to give browser informations about a web page, and one of the elements that the head tag contains is the title tag. So what is the title tag? We use the title element to specify a title that appears on our title bar inside the browser. So let's say we want to name our title like my first, or let's say my app. Okay, my app is okay. So let's go back to the browser and look. So as you can see up here, we have a title appearing on the top naming my app. So that's one of the elements or tags that the head contains. Now let's look at some other very important elements used in the head tag, and one of those tags are the meta tag. And talking about meta tag, let's take a look at, we have the meta character, okay, or the UTF-8. Then we close our tag. Okay, so what does this do? This is a meta element for giving information about this web page that we are creating. And one thing you should know is that this meta element defines character set. So computers don't understand letters like A, B, C, D, and so on. And they only understand numbers which are represented in a binary format, like the zeros and ones. So using this cassette or character set will map a character to a numeric value. So that's what this basically means. And one of the best practices, so the UTF-8 as I'm talking about, is a character set. This one is used mostly these days because it represents almost all characters in the word. And now let's take a look at one of the most important one as well. So let's take a look at, okay, let's say this meta, this should name, and this is viewport. This is the meta viewport as well. Then we have our content. Our content must be equivalent to the width. So this is width. We have the device. Okay. This is a device width as well. Then the next thing will be the initial scale. Okay, so the initial scale is basically equal to 1.0. So here we go, we close our tag now. Okay, so you don't have to worry about memorizing all this stuff. When I started coding, these things scares me a lot. I always say, how can I keep all these things in my head? Coding is like lifestyle. As you continue to code, these things will be on your fingertips one day. So this let's talk about this meta tag I just wrote here. So this meta tag is for configuring viewport, and the viewport is a visible area of our web page. Now if I take a look at our browser, now this is the visible area of our web page. So we can try and resize this. So this is the viewport right here, the area we are just seeing here right now. So we need this element so our web page look good on all devices, like mobile, tablets, and desktop computers. So that's basically what the viewport tag is about. So let's get back to our code editor. And so the best practice is you need this tag in your web page. You should at least have any of these web tag, these meta tags in any website you create. And now let's talk about most common element for working with displaying text in our web. So let's look at some common elements for working with text. So first, let's look at the heading tag. So this is with the header tag. We have up to 6. We have header 2. We have the 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this is 4. This is the 5. And finally our 6. So let's put some text inside these header sections. So let's say this is our heading. So let's look at the results. So let's save and look at it in the browser. So as you can see, this is the header 1, header 2, header 3, 4, 5, 6. So now it keep going, the size keep reducing. So one of the advisable way of using these headers is I will not advise using repeating same header. So let's say we have header 1. Let's call this my site. Let's name the subheading first page. So let's save and look at the result. So these are both header 1 tags, and whenever you are using them, when you have your main header in every site, let's say you use header 1 for a particular heading and you are going to a subheading, it's not advisable to repeat the same header. You must go with the header 2, and if you have another header, it must go with header 3. Header 2 must not come again. So if this is your header 1, then basically this must be your header 2. Mostly this is not used. So these are header 1, and this is also repetition of header 2. If you also have another heading you want to add, then you should go with header 3. So let's take a look at another thing. Let's call it the paragraph, which is the p tag. And let's copy this text and put it in the p tag. So instead of writing the text on the website like that, it's advisable to put it in the p tag. Why so? So let's add more text and take a look at something. So let's call lorem. So what is lorem? Lorem is any random text which is used to fill pages in designs. So let's take a look at this. We have our text here. Imagine we want to have another line of text. So let's add another text here. Let's say this is my first web page using HTML5. Now let's save and look at the result. So as you can see, this comes closer to this text, and maybe we want to separate these two. We can decide to go in here and add some space. So as we hit on the space bar as much as we can. HTML doesn't recognize spaces here. You can see as our page remains the same. We added space, but there's no space there. So that's one of the importance of the paragraph tag. There's another way also, the space tag in the HTML. Let's try and add the space tag. So if you want space here, let's say we need, first let's check the result. As you can see, the space is not recognized. So let's add. Okay, so this is the tag for spacing items in HTML5. So this is a very tiny space. One of these gives you a very tiny space. I'm not sure you are going to even see it well. This is very small. So if you want your space to be wider, then it means you need to add a lot of this. So let's copy and paste a lot of this. The more you paste it, the more you get more space. So as you can see, we've gotten some space within our text now. But you don't want to be pasting a whole lot of this. Let's say you want this to be on the next line. You are going to paste about 100 of this. You are going to paste about 100 of or 200 of this before you can bring your text to the next line. It's not advisable. So that's where the paragraph or the p tag comes in. So if you want, in case we want space between this, then we need a new p tag. So let's copy this and put it in the new p tag and see. Okay, so let's come back here, add a new p tag and paste it inside. Let's take a look. So as you can see, there's a whole lot of space that separates our text. So it's advisable to put your text in the p tag. And one of those things we need to look at is also the bold. Let's say we want to emphasize on this text, we can use the em tag. So the closing tag must come here. So let's take a look at it. So as you can see, the HTML5 changes to italic, which means we are emphasizing on this this text. And another way of also doing that is we can add the I tag, which is similar to this. So it still remains the italic, but with the italic, it's used for styling a whole text, and with the em, it focuses on one text, which is it emphasizes on the text. And we can talk about the bold as well. B for bold. Take a look at this. Our HTML5 becomes bold. And that one is the strong. So these are not used these days because we use CSS to do all this. But I just want to, it still remains the bold. That's the strong and the bold. There are a whole lot of them, but we don't use them much these days because CSS do all those things for us. So let's claim now. So now we are getting to the interesting part of this course now. So one thing I want you to know, okay, one of the interesting thing about this page is anytime we want to start our own new website, we don't have to write all this. So let's select all this and delete it. So with the Visual Studio Code, if you want to have your startup code, you just type your exclamation mark and let's see what appears. Element abbreviation, doc type, and blah blah. As soon as you click enter, it gives us a new startup code of HTML. As you can see, we have our meta tags here. We have our meta cassette. We have this as well, the equivalent, and we have the viewport as well. We have the title. So if we save this and look at it, yeah, this is a fresh page because there's nothing inside here. We can change our title as well to my page. So you don't have to start. So let's refresh it and see. We have our starting page here, my page. So you don't have to start all this from scratch. You don't have to type all this from scratch. So let's go over it again. Just type your exclamation, just press enter, then get your startup code. So you don't have to worry about putting all this in your mind. So now let's continue this course. So we want to create our first local website on our computer, and let's start to divide that. We are going to create in our body section. We are dividing our body section into different sections. So we want to have our header, which will contain our navigation. So we have our nav, which is the tag for navigation. So how I see navigation is like, it's like switching from places to places. You click on something, it takes you to another place. You click on something, take you to another place. That's how I basically see navigation. So talking about navigation, you want to have something like, for example, if I have my home, I want the home to be such a way that when I click on the home, it takes me to a source. If I have an about, I click on it, it takes me to an about section, take me to my blog section. So how do you do that? So in HTML, we have something we call the anchor or the A tag. Now, with the A tag, we have a reference. The reference takes us is the source. So for example, if this is our home, and so let's repeat this. Let's create some few more. So let's say record this, the about, then we call this the, let's say contact us, then let's record this services, then let's call this let's say blog. Okay, so basically this is it. So for with the blog, for example, let's say on your website you have some blog post such a way that when the user click on the blog, you want a direction to your blog post. So basically you just have to get the link of where your blog posts are and place them here. But for now, we don't have any specific link, so we are going to replace them with hash for now. So let's put hash here. So let's quickly save this and look at the result. Okay, I think I have a problem with my server. Okay, so here we go. So here we have our home, our about, our contact us. Here's the services, and we have our blog. So this is our link here. So this is the local browser. This is the link of our local browser. This is the name of our file, index.html. So the moment I click on blog, you can see it moves to a new location with the hash. The hash came there. Let's try and refresh it and go back. So this is the home page now. I click on services. The moment the hash appear, so it means it's referring us to another place. So that's more like how I see the navigation here. So another navigation is, let's get here. So one more thing, let's create our header. So header 1, because this is my first header I'm putting on this page so far. So my first web. Let's save it and see what we got. Okay, here we go. So okay, I want to put some space between this nav bar, the navigation. So like I said, you want to space we use this because this basically gives you the space you want, because HTML doesn't recognize space. When you use the space bar to put space between your object, nothing happens. So let's try and paste this more. So 5, Okay, so let's see what we got. Let's save it and check. So as you can see, we have spaces between our blocks now. So let's come back to our site here, under here. Now let's talk about source. Now we talk about a reference, and what does the reference do? It takes us to a particular location. Now what if you want to add images? Now let's look at the image tag as well. So let's create a new section. Under our new section, let's come under the header and create a new section called main. So inside the main, let's create another header section here. So let's put any random text inside. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, so to add an image in HTML, we use the img source. Yeah, so the img add element. So the src represents your source with your location, and the alternative is like the replace of your image. Maybe if your image is not showing, what does it show as the alternative for the image? So that's what the alt mean here. So I want to have an image inside the image folder here that I want to add. So let me quickly go to the desktop. To copy this image, go to my project folder. Okay, so my first one, paste it here. You can use any image of your choice here. So I want to call my, when I get the link of the image here. So let's say this is, let's call this image. So let's quickly get to the home page. So here we go. We have our image nicely placed here. So that's basically if you want to add images on the web. So let's make use of our paragraph as well. This is the p tag. Let's add some text, random text in it as well. There we go. Let's copy 3 more. There we go, nicely placed under it. So we come back to our text now. So the next section we would like to create is the footer. And the footer is where you see the copyright. Almost you see the copyright and all those. Anytime you look on the website, the ending, the last part of every website, it's called the footer. So let's take a look at the footer here. So inside the footer, I want to add an H. We already have. I want to add an H2 tag here. So now here is, let's say, copyright. So let's say copyright. Gideons 2020. So here we have our footer. So let's look at the result here. So here we go. We have our footer nicely placed there. So the next thing we want to do is, now let's try, one more thing you can do is, let's try and add the copyright symbol here. So inside the HTML5, we have to add your copyright symbol. You just have to type you have your copyright symbol nicely placed there. So let's try and create another reference like I was talking about here. Let's create another file here. So come here. Let's create another HTML file. So index2.html. So we call our starter code. We call this, let's say this is second page. So what we are basically trying to do, we are trying to learn how to link two different pages together. We are going to do that using the anchor tag as I was talking here about. So inside our second page, let's try and do some few things inside here. So inside our file, I want to create a list. I want to focus on the two major lists used in types of list used in HTML, which are the unordered list and ordered list. So with the unordered list, we use UL tag for it. Inside the UL tag, we have our list items. So let's say our list items, and let's say we have this as genetics. So let's repeat this. So let's say inside here. So let's call this, let's say physiology. Then we call this environment. Right? Then let's call this, let's say this is our organisms. Then maybe let's call this, so let's say this is something like mathematics. So this is just random things I'm just typing here. So let's say this is an English language. Okay, so before that, let's quickly come into our HTML tag. Now we're talking about the reference, about navigating here. We talk about this place being used for navigating through different sources in your page. So now that we have our HTML2, let's make it such a way that when you click on your blog inside your anchor tag, it takes you to the second HTML. So for how do we do that? We come here, then we type the name of our file, our second file here, or the source of it. Now let's quickly go to our page here. Okay, I think it's here already. Now let's click on our blog. As you can see, it takes us to the second HTML. Yeah, I'm back here. You click on it, it takes you there. Let's do the same. Yeah, let's go back. So here we are. This one type of the list, which is unordered list. Now let's look at the ordered list. Ordered list is represented with OL. So the difference within the ordered list and unordered list is basically with the ordered list, it replaces with numbers. So that's the difference. But for now, I want to use the unordered list for now. So let's keep the unordered list. Now, another thing you should also note about HTML is, let's say now we have our list items. Let's say we want to have child, want to have another list under maybe one of these list item here. So now let's take the mathematics, for example. Want to have another list. So inside here, let's click enter. Then we create a new list tag. Inside it, we have our new list items here as well. So inside here, let's say we have sets. So let's repeat this. Let's say we have set. And let's say here we have graphs. So let's save and see what we got. So as you can see here, under the mathematics, we have another set of list items under this mathematics here. Let's do for one more. So let's take out the English. Inside the English, you click on enter. Then you create your new unordered list under this list item. That's what it means. Under this is the whole of this is an unordered list, and each of these is a list item. And under this one of this list item, you are creating another unordered list under it. That's what it basically means. So under the unordered list, we also have some list items here. Let's say we have let's use something. And I use something interesting. Okay, let's say we have French. Okay, let's say this is Spanish. Yeah. So as you can see, the two new list items we added now came under this here. So that's how the list work in HTML. Now the next thing we want to look at is tables. Let's look at how tables also works. So let's can write under here. So we use the table tag. And under the table tag, so how table works is just like how we have spreadsheet, we have rows and columns, and we have headers, and that's more over how I see it as well. So inside the table, we have a table row. Then under our table, we also have our table headers. So the table headers, let's say we have this. Let's try and repeat this. So let's say this is subjects. And the next thing here, let's say this is curriculum. I'm just trying to create something fun though. So these are just random things I'm putting inside. So leisure, let's say this leisure. I'm just trying to create something like timetable or something. So extra curriculum. Okay, so let's save this and look at, so as we have our table headers here, we have the days, subjects, curriculum, time, leisure, extra curriculum, and co. Now let's try and place our so under our table row, let's create another set of rows. So let's create a tr tag. Under it as well, we have table header as well. And we have some few items. So okay, I'm just thinking of something to make this fun. Okay, let's put like days here since it's timetable. So let's do like day Monday. Let's copy this. Under the Monday, I'm just having like mass. So let's have like, let's say football curriculum. Let's say football. Time, let's say morning. Then leisure, let's say no leisure. So one more. So another extra curriculum, let's say we have say software. So let's save this as well. Look at it in the browser. Okay, so here we go. So we have the Monday for the days, we have maths for subjects, curriculum, we have football, time, we have the morning, leisure, we have the no leisure, extra curriculum. So let's try and add some few more items. So I'm gonna copy this. So let's save this. So we have few more items. As you can, we have few more items here. Let's change this to, let's make it more fun. So let's say this is Tuesday. So this is basically how we create a table. This is a Wednesday, and this is, let's say, Thursday. It's a Friday. So inside our table here, now what if, let's add some attributes. So what if, let's add like, let's say border, let's say it's equal to 8. Now let's come here. Immediately we add border, it adds a whole lot of border around this here. And you can also have cell sampling. That's another thing. don't need to worry about this because we use CS, most of the time we use CSS for all of this. So you have the cells happen as well. So with the cells happen, it put you have enough space between the cells here. Then another thing, we can also have cell spacing as well. Let's space. So cell spacing. Now what the cell spacing does, you want to remove the spaces in between the cells. So as you can see, there's no space between the cells here. So that's what there's a whole lot you can do with it. So this is another way the table also works in HTML. So with this, okay, let's try and create another reference tag, anchor tag, so we can move back to it. So let's say this index HTML. Let's name this let's say back to first page. So okay, let's try and add some little space between the table here. So between the table and the reference, let's add like a paragraph tag here. Okay, so we have some space here. So what this does is that when you click on it, it takes us back to page 1 here. It takes us to second page here. So this is basically about linking of two pages to in HTML. Yeah. So thank you for watching this video, guys. If you like this video, kindly subscribe and give me thumbs up for more. Thank you once again for watching this video.